like. And so the last thing we need to do is read our hearing script, which I'll do now, and then we'll jump right into the presentation of your case. So this is the September 1st, 2021 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20210111. The hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant and the opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless the party has submitted evidence or testimony in the form of writing prior to this. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. After the applicant has had an opportunity to present its case, if there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to present their case. For our purposes here today, we'll give Walt an opportunity to testify after you presented your case. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to the application, you'll have an opportunity to rebut that testimony, and then finally, you'll have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony, which generally means evidence that you would like to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who is not present at this hearing. Excuse me. In the event of any technical difficulties or any unforeseen circumstances, which we already sort of experienced here today, we'll do our best to troubleshoot those on the fly and to work through them. But to the extent we continue to have problems and it affects our ability to meaningfully go forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone this hearing. That'll be at my discretion. Okay, I think the last thing we need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. And so if you intend on testifying here today, which I think both of you will, if you could go ahead and raise your right hand, I need you to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
I do.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, so Mr. Hand, what would you like to tell me about the project?
So today we're talking about project we're developing, which is a single family residence. It's on a currently vacant piece of property inside the city of Cincinnati. I've submitted drawings for review to the plans examiner. Walt has been the zoning person in charge who's helped me work through the issues with that. At the moment, we're not asking for any relief of any specific zoning elements other than the fact that the parcel is inside of a hillside overlay district. So in addition to the design plans that have been submitted, I have a letter of design support from the geotechnical engineer, my structural engineer, and then a letter from the geotech saying that the structural engineer's design meets the requirements for the building on the hillside.
Okay. Anything else at this time?
I did not have anything else prepared to present. So as far as I know, this should be relatively straightforward. I'm happy to answer additional questions if necessary, or to talk through the other details.
Sure. So let's go ahead. I'll give Walt an opportunity to weigh in, and then I'll ask the question.
Okay, yeah, this is the house was designed properly into the hillside. It does have the stepping for the footers as shown on the drawings. As we've talked about many times before, the cumulative cut and fill for a driveway of this nature, because it does cross the entire parcel almost, going from where he enters all the way up to where the house is, seems to be a lot, but it is stepped in the hillside minimal as it goes up the hill. I believe the most that any individual cut is probably around 18 inches. Is that correct? As
That
we
is
go
correct.
up the hill. So what you're told as you go up the hill, it just is the height between start and finish. So the house was designed appropriately. It does have the right geotechnical report. With any house that you're doing into a hillside, if you're going to put a full basement underneath it, you're generally going to need relief because footers and foundations need to be in the ground at least 30 inches for frost, and then your full basement on top of that. So This has been designed with all of that into consideration and minimally affects the hill.
Okay, well, looks like there's two in your staff report. There are two separate requests for relief.
Yeah, one is
being-
for the cumulative start to finish, which is what we talked about at the beginning. And the other one is actually for the basement area for footers foundation walls.
So does the second one on your report, does that include the relief in the first one?
No, it's two different ones. The
So
wording
it's two
should just
separate
be,
cuts.
yeah, two different ones. One's for the cut and fill for the house, and then one's for the entire site cut and fill.
Okay. And let's see, it looks, is this the only infill development in the vicinity?
That
for either of you?
parcel, if I'm not mistaken, is about 350 square foot. Is that correct?
The parcel
50,000.
itself, yeah, the parcel itself is about 8 acres. So yes, we're only building the one house on it. And
So-
there's
so
nothing
any-
else nearby.
Any future development, since it is in the hillside, would go through what they call a major lot split through planning, and would have to go through a huge review process through a coordinated site review along with a review through the planning commission. So
Okay. And in terms of it looks like the lot currently contains some mature trees, is that right?
That's correct.
Are you, to what extent are you retaining those mature trees? How many do you need to remove?
We are keeping as many as possible along the entirety of the site. We're at the moment planning on removing between 5 and 8, which have grown specifically right where the house is going to be. Not planning on clearing any other additional areas other than right where the site development is happening for the house.
Okay. And will the project preserve the brow of the hill? Or
Yes.
okay.
The parcel only goes up from Colerain Avenue, probably about 2/3 of the way up the hill anyway. There's already existing houses in the subdivision that's at the top of the hill. That's the Rayburn Terrace subdivision.
Gotcha. Okay.
that would be figure 1 if you're looking at the staff report.
Got
Kind of
it.
gives you an example of what's going on there in figure 2.
Okay. And will any of the cuts leave any cliff-like vertical slopes or have any retaining walls that are excessively high?
Now, the only deep cut is going to be essentially the back of the basement, and that's going to be a walkout on the downhill side of the slope. So the grade is expected to continue around the entire property. There's a few, on the site, there's an existing curb cut, and the driveway is following the historic, what used to be a driveway on that property. So that's why the grading is essentially minimal from what's there now to what we're planning on doing. We're not trying to re-terrace or regrade anything.
Okay.
And David, figure 3 kind of gives you an example of exactly how they step the footer up for the walkout. So, which is what we look for when we're looking at hillside review.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Anything else, Mr. Hand, you'd like to say in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here too?
No, I was here just hopefully to answer all the questions that you need to make your informed decision and be available for that.
Okay, great. Walt, anything else?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, I think we'll leave it at that, guys. Appreciate your time and your testimony, Mr. Hand. Like I said at the beginning of this hearing, these usually take about 2 weeks. I'm just now getting caught up on a backlog, so I think that should be accurate. But if you'd like an update on the status of the decision, or have any other questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to myself or Walt, and we'll be happy to answer those. Yeah, any other questions right now?
Do you immediately see anything that's going to cause any troubles or delays in proceeding with the rest of this?
I do not.
Okay,
Yeah, I do not, but I want to take a little bit closer look, and we are required to do site visits as well. So
Okay.
those usually involve sort of driving past the site and getting a sense of the development in and around the site and stuff.
It's difficult to see if you just drive past it. There is the existing curb cut and you can pull into the beginning of the driveway, but I warn you, that's a little bit difficult to maneuver right now before we get the grading completed.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. And I can imagine just looking sort of at the street view and some of the figures that what was included.
One of the things we plan to do is make that driveway entrance a little bit easier. And I've got a couple comments from DOTE about how to reframe the curb cut and make it a little bit nicer for them too.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Well, thanks again for your testimony. And I will, as soon as I finish these decisions, I put them into a PDF and I email them to you. So you'll have it really just moments after it's complete.
Great.
And then assuming it's approved, you'll be able to start working with Walt on any necessary permitting.
Excellent.
All right, great. Well,
Thank
thanks
you for your
again,
time.
guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. We are adjourned.